Hi everyone, Jimmy Snow here. I have always taken cybersecurity extremely seriously. I am one of the few people I actually know who can honestly say, yes, I have a different password for almost every account, like every important account for sure. Anything that has a credit card on it, anything that has personal information on it. Yeah, maybe I share like a password between, different accounts that you have to go to get software driver updates from or something. That's the only place that maybe that breaks, though not anymore. And yet this week, the most important thing, the thing that I take the cybersecurity of the most seriously, though I have since found out there's more to do, an account that had a very strong password and two-factor authentication, meaning in theory, you cannot sign into it unless you specifically have the device I have with a special authentication application. You can't sign in without that, in theory. Now, obviously, there are recovery ways that all goes beyond that. You certainly shouldn't be able to recover the account beyond that, and that's not what happened here either. On Monday, my YouTube account, and not just this account that you're watching it on it, watching this on rather, but all of my YouTube accounts, everything that falls under what's called a brand account, which means about 4 channels that you actually probably do know about if you follow me more personally, and then some other channels that nobody knows about because they're sort of placeholders and waiting, or they're little secret places that I exist. The entire account was taken, and people started streaming out from that account a scam, basically. Scam streams that have information on them. I think it's a QR code on the screen. I'm actually still not fully up on how the scam worked in my specific channel situation, just seeing how it worked on parallel ones. However, yeah, basically they took over my account, and subsequently, actually, we're also able to take over my Facebook account. We'll explain all that in a minute. And they pretended to be me putting out live streams in which they would make money, essentially. And I will tell you that this was the most stressful week as far as career side of things in my adult life. There's a solid couple hours that were probably the most stressful couple hours right at the very beginning on Monday of my entire adult life, despite the fact that I have had parts of my adult life where I've gotten terrible medical news. I have had parts of my adult life where I have, it's sad to say, but I've lost people. I'm talking about just that concentrated couple hours, parts of my adult life with terrible breakups and other things. But that solid couple hours, there are things that are worse because they last longer, you grieve longer and stuff. But this couple of hours in watching a business, which I have spent the last 5 years building, and then in the last couple years into this network that you see over here on the line. Obviously, there are that extends to other places, as far as that 5 years isn't just on the line. Watching that all be taken away and not know for sure, 1, that you will get it back, 2, the amount of damage that they can do, and 3, just how many accounts they currently have access to, which things you need to lock down. For example, when it was first happening, was actually communicating through Facebook with a lot of people, only to find out shortly thereafter that somebody there had noticed and basically purposefully broke the terms of service as my account to get my account shut off. So I think to try and cut off my avenues of communication I was talking to Cyrus the Skeptic at the time. Let me just say this. Let me say a couple of things very quickly as part of like a little intro, and because there are some people who they just want the minimum information and want to go. For first timers, if you're here and you're just seeing another YouTube account that got hacked, this is the Line Network. The Line is basically a series of shows. We're expanding into multiple other channels and platforms here soon as well, where we take call-in show. We do call-in shows. People call in, and one of our main sets of shows right now is all on like atheism, skepticism. It pops into politics. We also do a lot of social issues such as trans rights, queer rights, and that sort of stuff. That's who we are. I guess if I'm going to slip something else into this little thing before everybody else goes who just wants the minimum information, go to adamandeve.com and use the code LINE at checkout, LINE, being able to recover income. If you're going to be buying that kind of thing, if you know what Adam and Eve is already, go get 50% off and use the code LINE at checkout so we can recovering revenues by making our sponsors like us. That definitely helps. And then here's the last thing. If you're just stopping in for a quick thing, make sure you're subscribed. especially those who are stopping in for a quick thing who were already subscribed. Double check even if you are sure you were subscribed before, because a lot of people saw the new streams and they unsubscribed thinking, how did I get subscribed to some weird SpaceX Elon Musk fanboy account? How did that happen? And so, yeah, definitely make sure that you are subscribed, because even if you think you were before, you may not be now. Also, make sure you're subscribed if you weren't before, but you do support us. You want to see our channel. I'm not even saying you necessarily like us, but you want to see our channel to continue to exist because it's a part of your life. I know it's around half of people who watch the channel aren't subscribed. Hit the subscribe, because at our size on this channel, we actually get less consideration when things like this go wrong. I actually used the connections I had on my other channel, my bigger personal channel, to get the line fixed quicker. And actually, as a result, my other bigger channel hasn't been fixed. It being subscribed, especially getting above that 100K mark, gets you a different level of consideration in people, despite the fact that view-wise, watch time-wise, and revenue-wise, we resemble more like a channel with revenue for YouTube, I should say. We resemble more of a channel that has many more than 100,000 subscribers. But for whatever reason, once you get that silver play button, they start sending you emails, they offer you a partner, all these types of things. And, it'd just also be nice to do that. So make sure you're subscribed, even if you're pretty sure you weren't. Let me talk about the impact on the channel. I've got a little outline down here. You're going to see me look at it a bunch of times. First of all, the line ended up getting taken down for violating terms of service because it was a crypto scam for a minute. My personal channel, Jimmy Snow, also taken down. We have lost several hundred subscribers. It may actually be more than that, but we definitely lost a ton of subscribers that we're recovering because people saw that and went, why the hell? And the worst part is generally the algorithm first gives, these streams were not very long. The algorithm gives first to people who are likely to watch. And so it's even worse because a lot of people who do watch the channel often suddenly went, I don't want to watch this channel anymore. And apparently you can't recover that. You can't reset the timestamp to everybody is subscribed who was subscribed at this time on that hour, and the algorithm's the same at that. Right now, the whole reason I don't have my Jimmy Snow channel back, I have it mostly back, but there are still pieces that resemble the scammers, basically, that are locked in place that I can't change until YouTube either manually changes them or some period of time, if you had naturally changed them yourself, goes by. So I'm literally waiting for YouTube to finish that before I put anything back to public on my personal channel, Jimmy Snow. And so we had 2 days of algorithm loss, which is has a big impact. Losing the algorithm that expects you there daily, almost daily, for 2 straight days, and not just 2 straight days of I understand. 2 days, taking 2 days off of live shows is one thing. 2 days of no views on any videos, that's not a thing our channel does. And we still haven't gotten back to we've had 2 live streams this week, and we have not gotten back to what our normal hourly view count was, which means view loss, that means watch time loss, algorithmic loss, and revenue loss, which is something that we are recovering from. And it's not just the 2 days of revenue, unfortunately. Oddly, we also lost some patrons. We've since then been making up for that, as a lot of people have been supporting. Very much appreciate that. Please consider supporting too. I'm sure we'll talk about that more in a moment. But yeah, that's Patreon is security for us. And if we can shore up support it needs to be quite a bit more significant than it is now, but it would offer us a level of security to not even have to really worry about when things like this happen, because we would exist substantially in other places because we'd be able to afford to do so. Let's talk about how it happened. I know that a lot of people who are coming here, this is really all they care about. And I'll try and chapter these out so it's easy to find. I can't know for sure, but I think I do know what happened in my case. Usually with a YouTuber, it is an email with an attachment that isn't really the PDF it looks like it is. And you end up opening it, it fails to open, and you just go about your day and go, oh, the link was broken or something. And that's how they get in. Basically, they copy what's called your session data. Getting your session data, your session cookie, or your token, session token, there's a bunch of different words I see different people use for it. It's the thing that when you walk away from your computer or your phone or something, or you turn it off, you sleep, and you were signed into YouTube, and then when you come back in the morning and you open YouTube again, you're still signed in. That's because there's a special token speaking to Google saying, hey, I'm signed in here. I don't want to have to re-sign in. Keep me signed in here. And hackers can copy that token and clone your browser. I don't think it's your entire browser, but enough to get into these key places. Again, I don't know enough to tell you that that's true or not true as far as can they get everything else. I'm still operating as though they have everything and fixing everything. But they can clone your data, clone your browser, and now behave as you in the places that you were already signed in, which is the type of thing that shouldn't be. Google should not allow you to go, hey, that computer that we saw that you have right now near Austin, Texas, it just teleported instantly to Belarus, and you don't have to re-sign in when that happened. That's what happened in my case. Now, I don't think mine was the result of an email attachment. I believe mine was the result of Google failing a second time. I believe that a software that I was purposefully trying to download and install, that the normal way you download and install is safe, was hijacked basically with a fake application. Specifically by going to Google and paying to raise the result, basically doing a sponsored result, and making sure that you are the top result and you look identical to it. The only reason why I think this is the case is because in seeing how many people have said this thing where you try to run it and then it just doesn't run and you assume it's a broken link. So you then go and try and either get a new link or you do something and you go about your day. That hadn't happened from an email attachment for me at any point recently. And it did happen when trying to install this thing. And then I went back to the Google results, ended up going to the correct version of the website, and getting the program correctly. That is what I believe happened, but I can't know for sure. And again, the email attachment way works too. This is something where it's like, I was very hard on myself on how could I have missed something so obvious, so glaring, even though I have all the stuff, the application I would have downloaded was scanned, but they are created in a way. Ironically, I've been told that they use AI stuff to scramble signatures now, and that's part of how it gets over, and then also manipulating file size. They have a way that your scanners just don't recognize that that's what it is. So it was tough because every step of the way I definitely take security seriously, and this should not have happened to me. This should not have happened to anybody, but like me specifically because of how hard I take it. Now, that said, about a month ago, Linus Tech Tips, one of the biggest tech companies, tech channel companies, networks, I'm talking, they were offered an 8-figure acquisition last year. Like, this is a huge channel, and tech security is something they cover a lot. I think it might have been 9 figures actually. Yes, it was. It was a 9-figure acquisition, over $100 million an acquisition. And this is a tech company. I mean, this is their bread and butter. They got this same hack about a month ago. Same one. So this is the reason why I'm emphasizing this isn't to say so please don't blame me. People are going to anyway, and I don't care. It's like they already have in comments, well, you were so stupid to blah, 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 blah. They're going to get hacked one day too, because the way these things are developing, you really aren't safe from any of this stuff. The method by which I am planning to go forward, because I'm going from a level of already hyper vigilant to now so vigilant that we're going to call it mildly paranoid, excessively paranoid, is going to be having an isolated station upon which all of these things can be tested with 0 session tokens before anything is ever downloaded or installed again. And it's going to add quite a bit of time to bullshit, but it's going to be the thing we do, because I'm not chancing this ever happening again. If it ever happens again, truly we will be at the point of nothing could have been done to prevent this, because the things that currently have to be done to prevent hacking at this level are ridiculous. So again, that's the same type of attack that we've been seeing hit many, many really large YouTubers. Let's see. I think I got through all of some of the important stuff. I'm trying to do this all in one take without having like random cuts that make things weird. Only random camera changes like this. Yeah, and by the way, keep in mind that means this, if I am correct about where my file came from, despite the fact that this often affects YouTubers, it means it's not isolated to targeting YouTubers. Based on the stuff I was doing, and by the way, that program that I was downloading, I'm not going to say which one it is, just on the off chance that it's being targeted more and people are going to go experiment. I don't know. It just seems like you shouldn't. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll probably reveal it later. But the if the way I got it is true, that means that they are more broadly targeting people and just got lucky that I was a YouTuber, that they have a system in place where they check certain accounts and go, okay, I would guess that it is a thing that targets YouTubers and people with crypto wallets based on the application I was downloading, even though I wasn't downloading a crypto wallet, but I can see there being a lot of crossover. Again, I may talk about which application it is in the future, but for the moment, I'm just going to leave that up in the air until I know what things are safe to do and talk about. So that's pretty much what happened. That's what took it down. That's what took my Facebook down. Ironically, I was able to get my Facebook account back, even though most people can't, because specifically the way it was hacked, when they hack it, if they just hack it, but they don't violate TOS, you can often get your Facebook back. If they violate TOS, there's not really a good method in place to get it back. And I had actually accepted that I wasn't going to get it back based on researching and a bunch of other people having this issue. They never get theirs back. They don't even have a way to try and get theirs back. Every loophole where they're like, oh, you can actually like kind of do this way. And I got a hold of somebody and then we got it back. Those have all been closed. Facebook actually's recovery tools are terrible, to be honest. If you are just a plain Jane person, even if, for me, it was an account that I've had somewhere between 16 and 18 years. I don't remember exactly when I joined, but I think it was around 2007. And just last word on the Facebook thing. The reason why I got mine back is I'm a public figure, and there are, specifically for public figures of a certain size or not, there are different advantages, I guess. It's one of those shitty things. I got mine because of pure privilege, period. I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to pretend it's not shitty that I got mine back. And if you get hacked watching right now, your average person watching right now, you probably can't. That sucks. And that's a bad thing. And Facebook should fix that. And I'm sorry that that's the case, but you probably won't get yours back. I'm not going to now delete mine because I didn't deserve it or anything. I'm going to take full advantage of that privilege. I'm going to be fully honest about it. It sucks. And I feel cringy for doing it. But yeah, that's why I got mine back and why you probably won't. It really does suck. It's like douchey as hell to do something fully knowing that it is an incredible amount of privilege. So yes, this week has been horrible. When I was trying to talk to people on Wednesday, I had to keep stopping and go like, hey, let me call you back. I need to like put some stuff in my throat. I was screaming the first 2 days, and I screamed myself hoarse, not at people, kind of not at people. I was screaming at emails in the way where you're like, this doesn't fucking help. What are you talking about? Because the process is ridiculous to get everything back. But I never screamed into a person's ear, but there was a lot of, and then sometimes I was just screaming into the void. It was a very, very stressful time. I know there's people like, did you cry, Jimmy? Fuck yeah, I did. Fuck yeah. It was horrible. It was horrible. Like the thing that feels like a huge part of me, a lot of time, and anybody who people have been getting more familiar behind the scenes with how much work I put in, mostly because we've been hiring people. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's the equivalent of a 60 to 90 hour work week. 60 is like the low weeks. Like on the weeks that I actually find some time to go do some stuff, that I go hang out with people. It's not very often. Those are like the 60-hour weeks, or I just take a day where I'm like, I just need today off. And off never actually means off. It means I only did the equivalent of like 4 hours of work, but maybe stretched over the day. And I'm not just trying to impress you with how much I care, or like that's the nature of running your own business, having your own company, right? Trying to build something. That's the nature of all of that. It's you don't go to work. You are at work all the time. I'm not trying to make you feel like I'm just saying like, yeah, and I'm so badass because I did this. I just want you to understand how much how much seeing that all taken away and not knowing for sure. For the first couple hours, you don't actually know. Yes, on hindsight, like all the people who were like, this happens to other people. It was very frustrating to say this happened to other people. You get it back. Yeah, I got it back. I am still days away from unfucking. If we unfuck, but we're at the point of trying to unfuck this, and it is going to take a long time to finish unfucking it. It just is. Hundreds of passwords, believe it or not. I was surprised at how many. That's one part of it. Obviously, recovering the algorithm, recovering revenue, all of that stuff is sort of business end stuff. And then also just the stress and everything of it. And taking everything that was supposed to happen in a certain time period and pushing it off and now moving all of that around as we have a plan of expansion and stuff that now is at least delayed a bit. Luckily, it's not delayed as much because this week was supposed to be my vacation week. I was finally taking a week off that I really needed. I said something morbid when I announced that I was taking some time off on Aron Ra's show about the fact that I'm taking it. I don't think I can, I don't know if I should repeat it because people thought it was a little, you're not supposed to joke about certain things. But I basically, I expressed the level of depression I had been experiencing lately and that I needed to take a break so that that depression did not lead to a certain outcome. It was like one of those half jokes where it's like, this is a part of my history and depression's serious. And I'm joking about it to help me actually not feel that way. Anyway, yeah, this was meant to be my week off. It then became not my week off, and I won't get that week off until probably early summer now because of how much there is to do and the fact that this week off was pretty much the only time I could, and now we have so much to do going forward. Okay, sorry, that's a lot. Let me just tell you some of the things that we're doing to lock down and on my end, what changes I'm trying to make and what part of this unfucking is. I will say if you want to participate in the unfucking, seriously, the number one thing you could do is join on Patreon. It starts at $5 a month, and it's because that is more predictable, and if something catastrophic happens, that's going to be the avenue we first go to and say like, hey, just so you all know, this is going on. But I will also say we're now reevaluating as I've been looking at the models that a lot of other channels use, David Pakman and the like. They have a membership forward model. And we're probably going to be adapting to something similar where all of the main content, the important content, the shows that you're actually here to watch, those are still going to be going out for free to certain avenues, certainly YouTube, but we're going to try and expand that beyond. But trying to make the member experience something worth paying for and that sort of enhanced next level of experience, that's going to be a future focus. But that also means that the whole point of Patreon is it's a revenue source. And right now, increasing our revenue means that we're going to be able to start upgrading some stuff, which includes both hardware and software solutions to cybersecurity. It's also going to mean additional licenses for certain products and additional licenses both for production software and security software. We also want to diversify our platforms. We're going to try and also start to show in the future, we want our shows to be going out correctly, correctly framed, produced for a vertical format of the shows. So things like TikTok, Instagram, and that sort of stuff, going out live to those places as well as getting it out to podcast form, which is something we're already working on right now, Twitch and other things, which will also require additional production gear, but a lot of that's computers, honestly, to be able to adapt our outputs into multiple forms and send them to multiple places. That also is a level of security where if one thing goes down, we have these other places. Again, we're going to be focusing on Patreon and a website soon. I'm working on the website now that will have those membership perks and benefits that will also be a source of those of that stuff. But yeah, being able to expand out and be in multiple places and secure so that we're not 100% relied on YouTube actually functioning when they have such glowing security issues that they need to close. Yeah, that'll be a big one. I'm also, there's other like hardware, like a couple of basic computers that we'll call them quarantined or sequestered, that will have master accounts on them, accounts that these are the ones that, so the hard part is the way everything was structured now. When they got the master account, they could go in and technically take over every channel. They ended up only focusing on the 2 before everything went down, but they could have gone and done more. The other channels aren't as active, so maybe that's why they didn't. In the future, if they were to get an account, it should be one that is a sub account, not a subscriber, but a sub as in below, an account that I would still have sole access to the master, that I could go and shut them out before all of the other stuff happened. Because that was the problem. I was shut out. They shut me out. That needs to not be a problem in the future. And so there's a plan for these like sequestered hardware that there are accounts with great permissions on that I would be using day to day, but these are the ones that basically do the sole function of maintaining who is and isn't allowed where and kicking people out. And it would have been faster. I would have been able to do more quickly if that had been the case. But it wasn't, unfortunately. That is if I correctly identify the issue, because that is how Linus Tech Tips is set up, and they still got messed up by it because they didn't actually know the vector of attack, basically. Hardware security keys, that's another thing. I probably shouldn't show you them, but we've already begun that. You can actually buy two-factor authentication where you have to have a physical device plugged in or NFC'd to the physical device you're trying to sign in on. That will be helpful. However, this specific hack apparently bypassed all of that, password and 2FA. I don't know whether or not it would have been able to bypass hardware 2FA, but it seems likely. That said, still, it makes it, having that hardware key set up and then having password step management in a separate area and basically different places and different levels definitely make it harder for many things to get taken at the same time, especially as we're going to a policy of no live session tokens, except maybe on mobile, maybe on mobile. And so if you'd like to help, look, here's the thing. It's the crappy thing that I'm sitting here to go and say, like, we took a huge hit, and unfortunately the amount of money it will take to fix everything just back to normal, just to unfuck, is one amount of money. And we'd love your help with that if you want to. We have an Amazon wish list. We have PayPal, we have Cash App, and then we have Patreon. If you want to do one time, or you want to come to Patreon and do recurring, or if you want to help us buy specific equipment, all of that's going to be linked down below. But it's more than just the unfucking. It's now it's time to take this moment and not let it only become bad, make it become good. Let's do what we have to do to lock down in the future. Let's do what we have to do to expand, and expansion is going to be key to it, to create security for this channel that a lot of people, I hope, they say, like this is one that they find value in. And I think that our current plans for expansion, which I'm going to be talking about to patrons later today. I'm going to record a video for them talking more about those plans for expansion, including a specific announcement that I haven't made anywhere except made vague tweets about. I'll be talking to later today. All I can say is, yeah, it's been amazing, the outpouring of support. Thank you all so much. Thank you for being patient with me as I was clearly going through a crisis where you can't even fall into crisis. It's the type of crisis where you want to let it just absolutely crush you and just cry in the shower or in bed for hours and hours, but I didn't have time to. It's horrible. Like truly horrible. I know it doesn't speak necessarily positive things that I said that 2 hours was the worst in my life, despite the fact all these other things had happened. Clearly I have an unhealthy attachment to this, but that's not going away anytime soon. Building this up to something that is useful for as many people as possible is still my goal. And spreading things like secular humanism and skepticism and standing up for the social rights of people that matter. It's just, it all matters to me. And I'm going to let it be an unhealthy obsession for longer, while trying to put some health checkpoints in place to at least help it stop festering into a stroke or something one day. Anyway, that's all. That was a joke, for the record. I don't think it's that level. I don't think I'm working my way toward a stroke. I like when I line up in front of these trees just right, that it looks like the shape of my hair is like, I look like Bart Simpson about here. Anyway, that's it for the moment. Like I said, if you want to help, those are the ways that you can. But otherwise, just your support, your viewership, your watching, subscribing, commenting, helping with the algorithm. That would be great to have more and more people on. And that's all I have. Okay, so end the video, Jimmy. See ya.